With antibiotic resistances on the rise, the nanobots we created to hunt and kill bacteria were supposed to be our silver bullet. We first noticed a problem when the sloths in the zoo began starving to death, despite regular feeding. But with all bacteria now extinct, the rest of us won't be far behind. The doctor didn't believe me when I said I had parasites, so I decided to prove it. I wish he'd stop freaking out about how much blood I'm losing and look at the weird red worms I pulled out of my arm. There's an emaciated skeletal girl in my mirror. She's still not skinny enough. You have to take your medicine, I pleaded as my daughter shook her head. Honey, please, I begged, blood streaming from both of our eyes and noses. There's only one antidote. My identical twin and I always loved pranking our teachers by wearing each other's clothes and swapping classes. If only Lyd known the shooter was going to hit my class first, I wouldn't have suggested we switch that day. I promised the girl's parents would do everything in my power, as a cop, to find their missing child. Later, as I shut the hidden door in my basement behind me, I announced, "Ready or not, here I come." While on my yacht's deck, I saw a group of people frantically shouting and waving at us from the beach of an uninhabited island. "Join, bring me my sniper rifle," I said to one of the servants. "You have to take your medicine," I pleaded as my daughter shook her head. "Honey, please," I begged, blood streaming from both of our eyes and noses. There's only one antidote. At the age of 22, you have a stroke, and you remain on the floor, unmoving for almost an hour. Your last hour has been suffering as your vegan cat chows down on your soon-to-be corpse. "The baby's happy and healthy, ma'am," the doctor said. "Nothing to worry about." I didn't know how to tell her I was born a male, and the thing inside me couldn't possibly be human. My ex always told me that if you love something, then you have to let it go. Which is exactly what I told the police when they asked why I had dropped our son off the hotel balcony. My friend asked to borrow something from my closet that her evangelical parents won't let her have. I have no problem with the request, but it's hella awkward trying to fit a wire hanger into my school backpack. I stepped on the scale and was disappointed that I still needed to lose more to be considered petite. I grabbed my phone and Googled, "How much do human body parts weigh?" "The neural implant will eliminate Lily's seizures," smiled the neurologist. Seeing us exchange glances, he added, "If cost is a concern, the ad-supported base model is very affordable." I smiled fondly at my son as he excited announced that he had finally been called up to the school's handicapped football team. It had taken me considerable effort to disappear his teammate, and I was beginning to wonder when my precious boy would be getting his opportunity to shine. We had decided as a family that at the event of a nuclear war, we would die on our terms. As I was laying my children to rest, the emergency broadcaster's voice came through the TV declaring, relieved that it was a false alarm. "You really took a wrong turn, didn't you?" my wife said from the back seat of the car as I drove through the woods. "Jesus!" I screamed as I drove off the road, for I had buried her 10 minutes ago. My wife wept as the doctor told her our daughter wouldn't survive past birth and should be aborted. Buying his cooperation hadn't been cheap, but my firstborn will be a son, no matter what. I was upset my son wasn't paying much attention to me now that I was back from deployment. Imagine my excitement this morning when I saw him for the first time running towards me and call out "Daddy" as I was chatting with the mailman. She's just a dog. Ignore her barking and she'll quieten down. I stared at my owner, then walked away. Walking on all fours was becoming easier, and my bark was sounding more real. The doctor told me I had been legally dead for 1 minute and 15 seconds. 75 seconds was all it took for me to know no man, woman, or child deserves the horrors of what comes next. My service dog is trained to react to people, so I can tell the difference between real ones and hallucinations. I still don't know why he ignored the guy who threw me against the wall last night. "Daddy, who's that skinny-looking man in the background?" asked my daughter as we watched the Artemis Ill Moon landing live. I thought she was just being silly until news came out that hundreds of thousands of children had also seen it during the stream. 1, 2, 3, 4. The classroom was silent, except for the shaky counting. I jotted bulleted notes on my docket as the coroner went around the room and kept counting. 5, 6, 7. My priority in creating time travel was to protect my younger self from the shadow that haunted me as a child. From the ceiling of my childhood room, I watch my younger self staring up at me, shivering and crying in fear, as I have become the shadow that haunted me. The doctor told us today our son had a severe peanut allergy, and I vowed to do whatever it took to keep him safe. The first step will be to gradually increase his tolerance to eating them every day, so he doesn't have a bad reaction if he eats too much at once. I carefully squatted behind one of the desks as the guy with the gun looked around the darkened classroom. Taking a few tiny steps side to side, I suddenly regretted asking Mommy for the light-up sneakers at the store. "Man, you guys are being awful quiet today," laughed our teacher. We all saw the empty-eyed thing lurking just behind his shoulder, but not one of us dared say a thing as it laid a spindly finger up to its thin lips. "I'm sorry, sir, but Dracula doesn't seem like someone who'd do something like that. What's your blood type, and were your veins visible 'cause you might have been asking for it?" The orderly stopped me from putting my newborn's car seat in the passenger seat when we left the hospital. The firefighters said she would have been okay if she was in the front seat during the accident. My wife told me that I should stop complaining, as most people are stuck in jobs they don't like for 40 years and don't do anything about it. But I will do something as soon as I have found a branch strong enough to support my weight on a rope.